I'm sure you've all seen them before. You're looking through Gumtree or Facebook Marketplace and you come across ads that look like this. Or this. So today we're going to look at how to make your online ads effective and appeal to people, ultimately giving you the best chance at selling whatever it is that you're trying to sell. By the end of this video, we're going to see how we can go from ads that look like this to this. First thing, and I think this is the most important thing, is your photos. This is the first thing people are going to see as they're scrolling through their list of options. So if your first image doesn't attract people's eyes, it's likely that they're going to skip right over your ad, especially if a lot of people are selling the same thing you are. So take the extra 10 minutes to take the best photos that you can. If you've got a camera you can use, then awesome. Or if not, you can just use your phone, which if you're using a smartphone is going to be more than capable of taking a decent photo under the right conditions. I usually like to use my light box when taking photos of small to medium sized products so I can have that simple plain white environment, but you don't need this. You can certainly take great photos of your item with that one, but if you want to check them out, I'll leave a link in the description of where you can get those. I use my Canon G7X II for taking photos of stuff I'm putting up online, but for the purposes of this demonstration, I'm going to use my iPhone SE, which is a few years old now and has a pretty average camera on it. And I'll use the Canon camera as the item that I'm going to be selling. So if you're not using a light box, firstly I recommend you take your photos during the day and putting your item near a window that has natural light coming in. This will give a much brighter and cleaner image overall, as opposed to taking the photos at nighttime with your room light on it, or even worse, under a tungsten light from your lamp. So if you're thinking about making a post to sell your item and it's already nighttime, just wait until the next morning to take your photos. So go ahead and find a room that has natural window light. Alright, so now that we've found a room with the window light, it's time to find something to place it on top of. So I'm going to use this white IKEA box that I've got. It's best to use something where the color of the surface contrasts with the color of your item so that your item doesn't blend into what it's sitting on top of. And once we've got that, we can play around with our angles and positioning of the item and see what looks best in your given scenario. You generally don't want to backlight it, meaning the light comes in from behind the item and you're taking the photo from here. You're going to get a blown out background, the subject is going to get really dark, you're going to lose all contrast and detail, and it's just not going to look good. You could front light it like this, where the item is facing directly to the light and you're standing in between that light source and the subject, and you can take a photo like that. Depending on how far you are from the window and how harsh that light is, you could cast a shadow on top of the item and block the light. I generally like to side light my items, so I get the item on a bit of an angle. I've got the light coming in from the side and I'll take it like this, or move around a bit and see what looks best at that time. Side lighting is really nice because it emphasizes texture, adds depth and brings out the patterns, whereas front lighting generally gives a very flat, boring image. See what looks best for you and just play around with it. So I'll take a few photos like this with it side lit. So we'll make sure we turn our phone so we're taking the photo in landscape mode, and from here we can turn the item around to all different ways to show it from all angles. Don't just take one or two photos, take a bunch and choose the best ones from those to post up. You should also consider cropping the image if there are unnecessary things in the frame. Sites will usually allow you to upload a maximum of 10 photos, which I always do. The more photos you can show your viewers, the better. This way they get to have a really clear visual image of what they're going to potentially buy. Alright, once you've taken your photos, you've already done the bulk of the work. Now it's time to write a great title and description for your item. Write an eye-catching, professional looking title. You don't have to write too much of a description here since we have the description box to do that, but write the essentials. What I usually do is write the original name of the product as it would come up on the maker's website. For example, in this case, Canon PowerShot G7X Mark II. Using capital letters, of course. Please do not use all lowercase letters. It looks lazy and unappealing, and it literally takes 1 second to do an uppercase letter instead. If it's in excellent condition, I would write something like mint condition or like new. And I like to write this in all caps to grab the viewer's attention to this. If it's a brand new product, definitely write this in your title as it's a huge selling advantage. So the last thing is your description box. This is also super important, as this, along with the photos you've taken, is what's really going to persuade an interested buyer to contact you. Make use of this space to give as much information about the sale as possible. Now this doesn't mean to copy and paste all the tech specs or information that people can find on the product anywhere else. Write the specific details about what you're selling, the condition of it, when and where you purchased it, why you're selling, everything that's included with the sale, a receipt as well if you have that, and if it's something like furniture that you're selling, write the dimensions of it. This saves both yourself and the buyer time by eliminating the need for each interested person to message you and ask you these questions. You also want to write if you only want to do a local meetup or if you're willing to post it. If you are doing a local meetup, try to arrange it for during the day, and you could also ask them to meet you outside a nearby police station. This makes both you and the buyer feel safe. Some guy that I was once buying from asked to meet outside a police station, and that actually made me feel more secure as well. And if you're posting it to them and they're electronically transferring you, make sure to do it through PayPal and not through a direct bank transfer. This will protect both you and the buyer. There's no protection for them if they direct bank transfer you and then you don't send them anything. If they pay through PayPal and send it through as a payment for goods or service, you as a seller will be charged a small fee. In Australia, that's 2.6% plus 30 cents. But in return, the transaction will come with buyer and seller's protection, meaning if something goes wrong, like they claim the item wasn't received, PayPal can step in and help resolve that issue. If you're sending money between family or friends through PayPal, there's no fee for the buyer or the seller, but then there's no protection. One more thing I'd like to add that can really help you sell your things and increase the value of it is to keep the original boxes and packaging that your items come in when you buy them brand new. Obviously, I'm not saying you should do this with every little thing you buy, but for things that are relatively expensive and have value secondhand, I think it's definitely worth keeping them somewhere in your house. You might not think you'll ever want to sell the item when you've just purchased it, but your priorities might change in the future, and having the original box and the little documents that come inside really make it a much more appealing purchase for the buyer. I keep all the boxes for gear that I buy in a cupboard, and when I want to sell something off, I just pack it all back in as it was when I purchased it. So be careful when you're opening your things. I know it's exciting when you get something new, but don't just rip it to shreds. So that's it. Those are the things you can easily do to improve your Facebook, Gumtree, or eBay ads. I think putting in those extra few minutes into your ads is totally worth it, especially if what you're selling is expensive. You don't want to present it like crap and end up having to sell it for a lot lower than what you want because your ad isn't attracting people. If you found this video helpful at all, please give it a thumbs up, leave me a comment to let me know what you think, subscribe if you haven't already, and I'll see you next time.